The Waco tragedy stands as a stark example of how anti-cult organizations can exploit law enforcement to achieve their goals, causing significant harm not only to individual citizens, but also to the country as a whole by undermining the core democratic foundations of the state. This tragedy, in essence, constitutes an act of genocide carried out by anti-cultists through the hands of the authorities and law enforcement agencies. As a result of anti-cult propaganda and their manipulative influence, law enforcement agents, who were supposed to protect their fellow citizens, became executors of inhumane actions comparable to Nazi crimes. One of the most disturbing aspects of this tragedy was how skillfully anti-cultists managed to brainwash law enforcement officials, leading them to perceive innocent people as a threat. Federal agents committed physical, psychological, constitutional, and judicial violence against American citizens, whom they had come to despise and dehumanize as members of a dangerous cult due to manipulations by anti-cultists. The critical question here is how dangerous such manipulable individuals can be when given the power to make decisions about the use of force. The influence of anti-cultists is not limited to the U.S. Similar manipulations occur in other countries, where anti-cult activists, under the guise of public education, actively infiltrate government, judicial, and law enforcement structures. They give lectures and provide consultations for civil servants and law enforcement agencies, including police academies and security force management, where they stigmatize religious and social groups as threats to society and proudly boast of their influence, all while violating fundamental democratic rights. Here is a quote from one of the leaders of an anti-cult group in Russia. "I have been collaborating with law enforcement and military agencies for many years, giving lectures to personnel about the essence of modern sectarianism, knowledge of which is extremely weak in society, and this is despite the fact that the church pays the utmost attention to anti-sectarian activities. I have been dealing with this issue for 30 years. During my talks, I often explain a lot to cadets, security officers, and military personnel. A Novopashin. Such public activity by anti-cultists is merely a preparatory stage for further involving law enforcement in the suppression of religious and social groups, which have already been labeled as sects and cults by anti-cultists. Under the guise of education, they instill in law enforcement the belief that those they have branded as cultists, in some countries it is sectarians, are a threat to society, thus creating an enemy image in their minds. Examples like the Waco siege raise serious concerns. Imagine a law enforcement officer, manipulated by anti-cultists, who sees not a citizen they are sworn to protect, but an enemy. How will they perform their duty? Will they act the same way as the law enforcement agents did during the Waco siege?